Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Truth on the Tracks. I'm Brandon Turbeville. For those of you who are new to the show, you can catch Truth on the Tracks every Monday night and Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on ucy.tv. You can also access the show's personal page at ucy.tv/TT for Truth on the Tracks if you want to access the show there. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm also a staff writer for Activist Post over activistpost.com. You can follow my work in real time there on the homepage. You can also go to the Contributors tab, click on that tab, and you can find my name under staff writers and see some of the more recent articles that I've done. You can also, I'm the author of 4 books. You can go to thebookpatch.com to see those books, searching the names or searching my name. You can also go to falseflagpublications.blogspot.com. If you want to keep track of my work specifically, you can go to brandonturbeville.blogspot.com. That's the website where I repost all of my articles, all of my interviews, and all of the archived versions of this show on that webpage. Again, that's brandonturbeville.blogspot.com. What I try to do with this show is go over the news and the recent pieces of information that I've been paying attention to and trying to bring them to your attention in hopes that you'll be able to spread the information and contribute to building us some sort of critical mass, which we are going to need very soon in the future if we're going to turn this around. You'll know that I focus a lot on solutions when I can, and there are opportunities currently for real, tangible solutions. And one of the ways that you can be involved in these solutions is to take political action, because opinions mean virtually nothing. We can all have opinions, but they don't accomplish anything. What counts is political action. That's what gets the attention of the system, and that is what brings change. So I want to bring your attention to an article that's up on Webster Tarpley's website, tarpley.net, entitled, "To Win New York Fast Food Workers Strike, Expand the Struggle with a Program of Citywide Demands." Now, we don't have time to go into this article in depth or to really go into the details because I have 2 guests tonight, which we'll get to in just a second. This article, however, is related to the United Front Against Austerity, who is a coalition of some like-minded groups and others who at least can agree on a program, which is sorely needed. This program does exist at the United Front Against Austerity, again, at againstausterity.org. You can go check that site out and see what they've got going on in terms of real political struggle. Now, they've already got 1 win in their column, so this is something that you might want to be a part of. I should mention that I am not affiliated with the UFAA, but I have to support the organizations that I can, that I think are legitimate, that I think are really working towards some serious, tangible change where I can, and this is one of them. And again, you can find the article, "To Win New York Fast Food Workers Strike, Expand the Struggle with a Program of Citywide Demands." And in that article, you will find the demands that are set up for the New York City fast food workers, and you will find tangible ways forward to actually achieve some change. Again, UFAA has already got 1 win in their column in Detroit, in Michigan, and it would be nice if they could get a 2nd win in their column, so I just wanted to draw your attention to that. As I mentioned earlier, we have 2 guests tonight, Jeff Maddox and Patty Motley from Kershaw County, South Carolina, also from brushfiresforliberty.com. That's a great website to check out. They also have 2 groups, South Carolinians Against Agenda 21 on Facebook and Kershaw County Patriots on Facebook. You can find both of those easily. And they also have a website for Kershaw County Patriots. It's KershawCountyPatriots.com. That's KERSHAW for those of you who are not in South Carolina. Some of you might be familiar with these 2 because if you've been following my work, you'll at least know Jeff's name, because Jeff was considered a domestic extremist for the dangerous and terrible crime of liking an article on Facebook. So, but both of these individuals are a force in their own right in Kershaw County, South Carolina. at least letting the police state that is Kershaw and the corruption in that area, at least letting those individuals know that they're going to be met with a fight. So with that being said, Jeff, Patty, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
Here.
Yeah, so I wanted to first I should ask you, how is life in the police state of Kershaw County?
Yeah, life in the police state's not bad, really, I guess. We're confronted with them every day. Since the like button issue, Patty and I have become kind of a famous group in Kershaw County, and every policeman and every county councilman and anybody in the administration knows our name now.
Well, it's nice to get to know the community, and I guess it's fine to live in a police state so long as you have your papers. What I wanted to talk about tonight is I wanted to get into the councils of government, because I had heard of the councils of government, but I never really got into the topic as much as after we had a discussion about the councils of government, or COGS, as we should call it for short. And I know you guys have been involved in the fight against the COGS, because this is Agenda 21, and you've actually been to the meetings, which most people don't do. I'm sure the people at the meetings were surprised. But if you want to tell us a little bit about Agenda 21 and how it relates to the local areas like Kershaw County, and how you might be able to recognize it for the listeners, how you might be able to recognize it in your local area.
Basically what it is the federal government's way of getting control of everything through the local government. They come in from the bottom, but all the funding comes from Washington. And this is, it goes back to, what was it, the Rio Summit?
Well, it goes
Rio.
Back, Agenda 21 goes back that way. If you want to find the origin to the COG, you have to go back into the early 60s. It's right around the end of right around when Kennedy was assassinated and Johnson took over, and the war on poverty began, that Congress set up and the Economic Development Agency, and they needed a vehicle to get it to these grants and all to the local level and bypass the state and all, and that's kind of where the birth of the COGS came out. And the COGS are nationwide. In South Carolina, we have 10 separate COGS, and they're regionals, and usually they tend to have 4 to 5 counties within them. And we'd like to call them the Sam's Club of federal grants, because it appears that anything that you might want, a park or a library or some sort of greenway, bike path, or anything, the COG is all willing and able to help you along the way and push you in the way to the federal grant, which then the federal grant sets parameters. You have to qualify for those grants, and what that does is set the parameters for where it leads you. Outside those parameters, you don't get any federal money, but inside those parameters, you can. And so by creating the box which you have to play in, it limits what you can do. So slowly over time, they can guide humanity, if you will, in the direction that they want you to go. If that doesn't...
Yeah, basically they want to have us all living in like these little bunny hutches in little cities, and you'll walk to work, you'll walk to school, you have a doctor's appointment, you walk, if you shop, you walk, and then they have all this green space around where it's very limited human contact at all.
Right, and we should be pointed out that, walking is a good thing, but the idea of you'll be so close to your city centers, and I can mention a piece of legislation that came through the South Carolina State Senate in a minute. But you'll be so close to your workplace. I mean, there's even been talk of not just the stack 'em and pack 'em dwelling centers, but buildings where you'll basically be born, grow up, work, and die in. There are these compact cities where you'll be able to walk back and forth to these areas because it's only a matter of a few blocks, so it's not that far to go.
Yeah, one of the things we've run across was, what was it, Jeff, complete streets?
Yeah, the complete streets where you have bike path and walking and sidewalks, and they want to implement that here. Every time that you remodel a road or repave the road, they want to have it done in a complete street program. And from what the hospital is pushing it over here too, you'll find that these organizations come together in their kumbaya moment, like I like to call it, kind of like the Republicans and the Democrats in this fiscal cliff shenanigan that they're playing on us now. But they come together and they're pushing the complete streets thing, and they're saying that because we build bike paths and sidewalks, that there's going to be a run at Walmart on bicycles and tennis shoes. It makes no sense.
Okay, yeah, we managed last night to videotape the beginning of one of these little things in the Elgin Town Council, where they're coming in on this, it's the watershed, rainwater runoff into the watershed. And it's just the starting there. It's not made it to the public part yet, but you can see how they go in and actually manipulate these people. And I'm trying to get this video up on YouTube because I think everybody should see how it works. Because even someone in the know was sitting in that room, and you can see them getting lost into the techniques these people use to drag them in. It's just interesting.
Yeah, we'll try to get a link up to those YouTube videos. When you mentioned the complete streets, one of the plans for this is to have essential vehicles only on the streets, meaning, of course, the law enforcement vehicles and vehicles meant to develop and maintain certain areas. But I guess we should step back a little bit because my listeners will be well versed in the Marion County penny sales tax because I've bitched about it for about half of the shows that I've done on UCY that actually passed here in South Carolina or in Marion County, and it's something that seems at face value to be fairly innocuous. I mean, it's a 1%, 1 penny tax. It's only 1 penny, and it's a sales tax, and it was done at the local level. This was not pushed from the state. This was not pushed from the federal government. This was pushed at the local level for local projects that we well, I say we, but that certain individuals claimed that we needed. And all on the face of it, it seems like a local initiative, but of course, it's not. And there is some nefarious means and purposes behind this, and it can be traced back to the COG. Now, I know you guys have had issues with the penny sales tax in Kershaw, and virtually every county in South Carolina has had issues with it, which should tell you that if you start seeing the penny sales tax or any other issue popping up in all these unrelated places at the same time or at or about the same time, that there's an agenda afoot. And here we used it for projects like refurbishing parks, refurbishing the library in one of the cities in Mullins, and there was even talk of a wellness center. That was one of the more ridiculous suggestions, I think, that actually got pulled back. But it sounds like something that you really wouldn't be interested in paying attention to, because a small county in South Carolina raising the tax by 1 penny isn't that big of a deal to anyone who's paying attention to the events on the national scale, especially as
well, it's not really 1 penny; it's 1%. It's a big difference.
Right. So I mean, we have this going all over the state, and again, it goes back to the COG, because at first, for some counties, it's education that's used to justify it, and for others, it's parks. For others, it's wellness centers, and it keeps coming back and back and back until they finally get it passed, like the Lisbon Treaty. Can you guys tell us a little bit about the experience you've had with the 1% sales tax, which is a regressive tax? I should
Yeah, it is a regressive tax, but yeah, Brandon, the penny sales tax raised its head here in 2009 and was placed on the ballot in 2010. Again, they were promising us these wonderful white elephants, recreational white elephants all across the county. And the town of Elgin came out against it because they weren't getting their fair share of the loot. Yeah. And we managed to, there were some big bucks behind the thing. Again, the Hospital Foundation, the Fine Arts Center, the Chamber of Commerce, it's all the same characters, it always is. They were all behind it and spent close to $150,000 trying to get it through, but they lost by about 9,000 votes. Then last year, well, it was actually this year in the spring, yeah, it came up again in county council, but apparently they had not laid the groundwork fast enough, and we were managed to shove enough people over to where we got a 4-3 vote against it. And now, so that didn't get on the ballot in November. Now the hospital is coming out with their thing called the Live Well Kershaw program, which incorporates the idea of recreation facilities, complete streets, Obamacare, and the whole 9 yards. And it's all starting to, they're trying to get, again, the Fine Arts Center, the County Council, the Chamber of Commerce, and all this to come with them on this new initiative. And at the heart of it is the recreation thing, which is all going to lead again to the penny sales tax and them asking again for it. And the thing to remember is they can ask the question over and over again. The people have to say no all the time. If they ever say yes one time, the question's over with and they move on to another question.
Yeah, it'll just be another penny here and another penny there until it's all about getting you to pay for your own enslavement. And it's really getting ridiculous.
Yeah, and what is interesting here in South Carolina is that sometimes when there's enough money involved, if the people don't say yes at the right time, then the powers that be will use other methods to get it through. And Richland County is a perfect example where they had the State House passed a law over one county, Richland County, unconstitutional against the state constitution. They passed this one law that placed this lady in charge of the voting this year, and they cannot fire her, and she places not the right amount of machines, fewer machines than the law requires, in just the right precinct in order to sway the vote to get the penny sales tax passed and get $1 billion over the next 20 years.
Right, and that's something else to point out is that these meetings, in Marion County, there were meetings and forums, because we don't have debates in small town South Carolina. We have forums, which means, for the listeners, we basically come and hear about what's going to happen to us. And these forums, there was never a discussion about whether or not the sales tax would be raised. The discussion was how to spend the money once it is raised. And
if
you ever found out about the forum, it was a week later in the local rag, Marion Star and Munnels Enterprise, which censors people who send in articles. Feel free to give them a call or send them a letter and let them know that their censorship is recognized. And you don't know about these things until afterwards, right? And then the people who do know about the forums are people who have been brought over to the side of supporting the tax for whatever reason. And again, I should point out that this is something that's much bigger than one simple tax that's being placed on small counties in the South. You know, as Patty just said, this is about incorporating Agenda 21 and getting you to pay for it twice.
They're really good at what they do, and like that video that we did last night, if you just watch them in action, it's just amazing. It really is. And did you go to your COG meeting, Brandon?
I haven't been to the COG meeting yet. I actually got a little more stonewall treatment than you guys got when you asked about the COG.
We didn't ask. You showed up.
The thing that's interesting to watch there is the way that the staff directs the meeting. In our particular COG, there's 40 board members, I think it is, and there's no discussion at all. What the staff does is get up and say, you know, this is what we recommend to do, and going after getting this federal grant and that kind of federal grant, and well, you need to develop this area or that area, and they direct how those people are expected to vote, and it's unanimous. I mean, they just follow along like a little duck, you know, following his mama. It's just amazing to watch that kind of thing, and you see that kind of that's using the dialectic, that's using Delphi. It's amazing to watch, and you can tell they're well trained government change agents, if you will. It's amazing
they
to watch.
They make them do different studies. They had to do the SEDS, or the Comprehensive Economic Development Study. And when you go in and look at these studies, and they have to do these to get the federal grants. If they don't do them, they don't get the federal grants. But when you go in and they tell you what they have planned for the next 5 to 10 years, and they always talk about how much federal funding they're going to get, but then they talk about how much matching funding they have to come up with, and it's like 30 to 1 that we're going to have to pay.
Yeah, it's always the leading amount of money is coming from other than federal. In other words, federal is your seed money, like they're being investment capitalists for you and invest in little seed money. But then you look, there's one project there that goes along the I-95 corridor, which they're going to use a high-tech biofuel manufacturing thing. And the federal government's going to put up $3 million, and the private sector and public funding other than federal is $30 million.
Yeah.
You see that they're planting the seed, directing the whole parameter of everything, and you pay for it. Well, it's your tax money in federal dollars. Well, it's not yours. It's your grandchildren's children's or something like that now. It's $16 trillion. But that doesn't matter to them, because who cares? They'll be out of office by then and dead, and a bridge named after them. Sorry.
Well, you also pay for the studies, too. I mean, the studies that they come up with, I saw the video of your COG meeting where they brought in the study like it was the Torah, where they had one copy of it, and you could only look at it on its little pedestal.
Yeah.
You couldn't take it out of the building. Nobody could have their own copy. But these studies are very expensive. We're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. If I'm not mistaken, there are tens of thousands of dollars for the studies now. Who pays for that? It's not the COGS, it's the taxpayer. We pay for that, and then we pay to implement the plans that they come up with. That's something else that I want to make this connection a little more clear to the listeners about the Council of Governments and how they connect to Agenda 21, because In some areas, like our area, it's a little harder to see because these cogs have operated under heavy cover for 50 years. They're only starting to get attention now.
Most direct link I have been able to find, after we went to the first meeting we showed up, it was something about their funding or something, and Larry got a letter back from them, and one of the main terms in Agenda 21 is sustainable development. The letter Larry got, it says project investments will result in more sustainable development opportunities. There's your key phrase right there, and that was the letter he got directly from the COG.
And also,
you can find sustainable development and sustainable communities, sustainable futures, those sorts of key terms. You can find that all over the COGs, not just in South Carolina, but all over the country. If you're listening and you're in the United States, you have a council of government. All you have to do is Google it. You can find it. So
they don't really hide what they. It's just that most people don't know to look.
Yeah, they're proud of what they're doing. Most of the people over there think they're doing the right thing. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that most of the people are nefarious or anything like that. I really honestly think that it's been so ingrained into the society.
We gotta take a break for station identification. Just hold up 1 second, hold that thought, and we'll be right back on the other side to flesh this out some more.
UCY.TV is an up-and-coming investigative media platform designed to give you a voice on the platform of your choice. Video, live radio, podcast, just to name a few. To learn more on what UCY can offer and how you can be a part of UCY.TV, simply email us at contact.ucytv@gmail.com. That's contact.ucytv@gmail.com.
I'm Madison Rupert, host of End the Lie Radio here on UCY.TV every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific and 10 p.m. Eastern. Tune in and listen to some wonderful programming.
This is Josh from Anti-Tyranny News Radio here on UCY.TV. You can catch me 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Fridays, and catch all the great hosts here on UCY.TV.
We're ending the lie at UCY.TV. For the people, by the people.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Truth on the Tracks. I'm Brandon Turbeville. We are talking with Jeff Maddox and Patty Motley of Kershaw County, South Carolina. Again, brushfiresforliberty.com, Kershaw County Patriots, South Carolinians Against Agenda 21. We'll put all those links up under the YouTube video when it comes out. Jeff, before we went to break, you were talking about these individuals who are taking part in the the Council of Government meetings, and you were saying that you didn't think that necessarily knew what they were doing in terms of implementing Agenda 21, but they were doing it nonetheless. You want to continue on that train of thought?
Yeah, Brandon, they it really, honestly, I think that they're not nefarious. I think that they think all this is good. This has been ingrained into the system. This is just how we do things. We go to the federal government to ask for these things now, and it's the proper role of government. And of course, everybody wants clean water and clean air and that kind of thing. So they're kind of ingrained into it and doing it not knowingly. And when you bring up Agenda 21, they look at you like deer with the headlights. And then when you start to explain it to them, they say, no, it's not happening here. And then you say, well, you're doing it. And they don't understand. They cannot make that connection. It's a hard thing to get through to them.
Right, and I agree with you. I don't think that they do it intentionally. I don't think that they even necessarily believe that they're doing a great thing. I think they're just completely apathetic and don't care. A lot of these individuals are just kind of low-level parasites that would just you'd be happy to leech off the taxpayer a little more.
Well, it looks good. It looks good if they bring home the bacon. You know, a politician loves to bring home a bacon. I don't care if it's your dog catcher or if it's a guy up in Washington. And these guys are no different. So if they can come in and build you a new library and it's on the federal government, but they're on the Council of Governments, they can tout that they got it for you and possibly win the next election and get the next $10,000 check or whatever.
Yeah, and we should point out, too, that members of the Council of Government are not necessarily your county council. I mean, a lot of these people are just community members, business leaders.
No. They actually have to be government members. Like they're either in the state government or the county or a town government, but they are in a government.
We have seen, there are different models of these things. They're not all the same animal. Particularly up in the upper part of the state at the Catawba Council of Governments, they have a token at-large citizen. That's the only one I've seen that had that kind of thing, an at-large citizen. How they pick at-large, I guess they go to the telephone book and there you go. But I don't know how that
Well, the city councilman on ours, but like Brad Hanley is considered citizen at large. On ours, he's listed as citizen at large.
Well,
so they may just be like town.
Yeah, it would be interesting to make a comparison because the Marion County COG, to my knowledge, has no elected officials, at least. They may serve in some government terms, but it'd be interesting to make that connection.
Yeah, and what is interesting is that all this is supposedly set up as a voluntary organization. I liken it a lot like Sam's Club. We go back to that again, and you have to buy a membership to be able to participate, go in there and save money inside of Sam's Club. Same thing with the COGs. Your county pays into the COG to be a member of the COG to where they can access these federal dollars. And so I think ours pays $35,000 a year or something like that. So, it's a membership club, but it's voluntary. But if you don't join that club, you don't get millions and millions and millions of dollars in federal funding.
It's voluntary, like a Social Security number, is what you're saying. It's you could live without it, but it's going to be difficult. They really, from what I can see, there aren't too many areas. I haven't actually come across an area where there's a city or town. I mean, these things have unincorporated communities representatives in them sometimes that I've seen. So I haven't really come across any that aren't fully inclusive of the different areas. But there are direct links too. I mean, again, I said earlier, it's harder in our area to make a link between Agenda 21 and the COG unless you do a lot of research. In other areas like California or even North Carolina, it's pretty clear because there's several COGs that are open partners of ICLEI. Of course, the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives, it's the local governments for sustainability, which are open and promoting Agenda 21. They even have it on the website, the Agenda 21, the Rio Convention, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, Convention on Biological Diversity. All of that stuff is a part of ICLEI, and ICLEI is partnering with the COGs. Now, this is not an isolated case. It's pretty open. Again, as you mentioned, back in the 60s when this was created, it was under the guise of economic development, and it appeared to be voluntary. The COGs were supposed to work at the behest of the county councils. But what's happening now, as you mentioned about your county council meetings with the COGs, is that the COG officials present ideas to the county councils. And it's working in reverse. It's the COG dictating to the council, not the council dictating to the COG, correct?
Well, what the COG does is it kind of delivers these federal grants to the county. We went to one meeting and videotaped this young lady just telling them how wonderful it was that they could get these grants. And I don't know if you saw that video, but she was just a doll baby.
Well, the thing is that you're right, Brandon, to a certain extent, because, again, they set up your playground for you. They tell you, well, here's the catalog of wonderful grants that you could possibly get, and go through it and pick the wonderful thing that you might like, and then we'll help you get to that point. And when they helping you get to that point, you have a certain cone of parameters set by the government, and so you think that it's your own idea, while at the same time you're being guided to exactly the way that they wanted it in the first place.
Yeah.
You have to that way it seems more bottom up instead of top down. That's the critical.
There's another.
That's a critical.
Yeah, there's another little. They have. I'm sorry about this. It's kind of messing up, but it's called the public-private partnership, where they actually bring in private donations too.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of the public-private partnership, you guys have done a little research on the consulting firms that are paid tons of money to do the studies that are presented at the COG meetings, right? What can you tell us about that?
Well, we found the Alliance, I can't remember exactly what their name is. Jeff might remember it better, but they were actually part of a group called the Committee of 100. And this is a group in Kershaw County that basically sets the stage for what they're going to do. And Alliance, it shocked me to find them on this committee because they're not even in Kershaw County. This is in Richland County, and their office is kind of like across the street from the Capitol, where, you know, they can send their lobbyists in. But these companies, what they do is they come in and do these studies just for this Agenda 21 stuff. This is what they specialize in.
Yeah, and Catawba used a different company from that, but it was Alliance was ours. I can't remember. Intuit, I think, is what theirs was. And if you go and look at each one of those companies, it's basically the same thing. It's they come in and do these wonderful studies and then recommend it, and it's exactly the thing about bringing in consolidating human habitats. Every bit of it's about that stuff. And if you start to look into the details of everything that they write, it's confining human habitation. I don't care whether it's storm runoff or whatever. Right now they're talking about storm runoff, where the grant is going to be, the government's going to come and look at your septic tank. If your septic tank is not exactly what they think it's supposed to be up to snuff, then you're responsible to bring it up to snuff, but the federal government's going to pay 60% of it and you pay 40% of it. So all of a sudden, here comes another intrusion onto your private property as the government agent comes to look at your 20 or 30-year-old septic tank, and then you have to pay to get it fixed. And then if you don't pay to get it fixed, guess what? They're going to come and steal your property. They're doing the roof runoff thing, where they take the square footage of your roof and they figure out how much concrete you got, how much runoff's going to be, how much pollution is going to be, and then they tax you. What does that do? That makes you want to get a smaller house, a shorter driveway, maybe live in a condo. How about a 10-story building? It drives everybody together into closer and closer areas. It's all tied together.
Right, and the beauty of this from their standpoint is that it all looks like a local initiative. It doesn't look like it's top down. It looks like it's ground up. Patty, you mentioned something that I know the listeners are going to want to hear more about. Maybe I should have you guys back on for a full hour to talk about this. Specifically, it's the Committee of 100. This is the Kershaw County Bilderberg Group, I guess. Just tell us a little bit about that, the Committee of 100.
Well, I accidentally ran up against, this is how I find all my discoveries. They're all accidental. But I ran up against it, and, there's certain people you're going to expect to be on the committee, but all they have to do is pay, I think it's $125 a year to get on it. And I'm sure a lot of people just do it because they think there's some prestige to it. But they're the ones that come together and start, making these plans for what they think direction the county should go in and stuff. And for Alliance to have been on there, I didn't like that, but I can't even remember who all I found on that list. But it was interesting to find this group, and they're on the county one of the county website. You can find them on there.
You'll find a lot of them.
Brian,
A lot of them are the economic development people. You'll find the same people, the Chamber of Commerce, the fine arts people, the hospital people, those kind of people. And then, of course, you'll find the Rotary Club and that kind of thing. All the leaders of, and Brandon, you're right, the redneck Bilderberg, if you would.
Yeah.
And like a lot of things, it's Freemasonic in structure. You can pay that little fee to come in and hang out with some big name people, and then you go home after you've had the little party, and then the real money makers, the real shakers, and power brokers make their decisions after you leave the property, I suppose. So that's right.
Like here we call this the Shaheen Mafia. Oh, the Shaheen family has got this place locked down, lock, stock, and barrel. Over in Sumter, it's the McElveens and that kind of thing over there. I'm sure in Marion County, there's some sort of nice little clique over there. If you want to pick somebody with some big wheel's name out of it, they're the power brokers that be, if you will. And they've got a pretty good grip on who's in charge of what, and they benefit from it. They make sure that their cousin or their cousin's brother or whatever gets the contracts, gets the money, that kind of thing. I mean, our government's just filled with corruption, and that lets them do whatever they want because they're morally corrupt anyway, and so who cares if the federal government wants you to build little bunny hutches?
Yeah, as above, so
and
below, to use the Mason terminology. I mean, we talk so much about the federal government, the international people being corrupt and so forth, and we live with the same corruption every day on a lower level. They just don't have as much power. The corruption is
yeah,
rampant.
as we started looking at a lot of these different commissions and stuff, you can start connecting the dots of who's related to whose family members been on, put on a different board or whatever. And so you can kind of follow that too. We're learning more about that.
Yeah, so before we've got a few more minutes here, about 10 more minutes, I want to mention the police state that is Kershaw County before we get off air here. The checkpoints, the round-the-clock checkpoints, are they still going on in Kershaw?
They have them regularly, Brandon. I think they slacked somewhat off. Our sheriff down here, we call him Barney Matthews. He got a lot of bad publicity from it and has backed up somewhat, but they're still going on. And his traffic unit is raping and robbing and pillaging on the I-20, stopping people, and they love to search vehicles. So if you're coming into Kershaw County, hold your speed down, and then if you do get caught, do not submit to an unwarranted search. Politely tell that officer you do not submit to unwarranted searches. Please give me that pretty little blue piece of paper and let me go on my way.
Yeah, people need to realize that if they could search your car without permission, they would do it. They wouldn't ask you.
They wouldn't have.
If they were able to arrest you, they would do it. Talking is never going to change their mind. I think the guy who did How to Never Get Busted Again, that video, he stated that there's never been a cop that had arrested someone and then changed his mind. So yeah, you should never keep talking after those handcuffs go on either. But yeah, for the listener, this happened about, was it 6 months to a year ago? Time runs together for me, where the Kershaw County Sheriff announced that there'd be round-the-clock checkpoints in Kershaw County, and turned the county into more of a police state than what most counties are in South Carolina, and that's saying something. But you guys actually went out and protested some of these checkpoints, I believe, right? With signs that alerted people to the checkpoints.
Well, we had some kids would like to. I had a group of young boys that started running through them constantly. They'd drive through them one way and then come back and drive through them the other way. And I went to a Breakfast Club meeting over on the other side of the Capitol, Columbia, and talked about it and talked about what we were planning and everything. And they put that on YouTube, and within 24 hours, we were spread all over the media as right-wing extremists and against law enforcement and domestic terrorists, and even had a county councilman call me a Nazi. I think that's like, the opposite of Nazism, I believe. But it blew up, and one of my best buddies, Larry Risball, he's a town councilman. They even tried to pass a resolution in support of the checkpoints. And Larry, of course, wouldn't go with that and gave a speech that told them why, this is against our rights, a complete violation of our rights and all, and no media outlet would cover it. So that just tells you that the media is not going to help you. You can bet on that. As a matter of fact, they're going to demonize you for speaking out. I've become accustomed to that, and I guess my hide's a lot thicker now because I really don't care anymore. But
yeah, well, the media in Kershaw, in that area anyway, is is openly got connections to the sheriff, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's his wife that's a major presenter on the, or broadcaster, I guess I should say.
She was with WIS Television in Columbia for a while.
So they've got good.
It was Heather Hoops.
Yeah, they've got good connections with the media, and the Camden Chronicle, the guy over there that owns it, Mishner and all, he's big in with the Shaheen Mafia and all, and so they're all tied together. I mean, you can go to your little town; they're all tied together, and we don't pay attention to it. Nobody goes to these county council meetings. Nobody follows your hospital because you're too busy with your lives and all, and what's on TV and who where are we going to eat tonight, and what about soccer and that kind of thing like that. In the meantime, they're robbing you blind. They're going to raise your taxes again. They're going to put you in little bunny hutches. And in 50 years, when we're dead and gone, we're going to leave a world of slavery and debt that unbelievable on our kids. And it's a shame. And this greatest generation that was supposedly won the war and kept communism out. Well, I look at Tom Brokaw and I say, you dumbass. You guys gave it away.
Well, I feel sure we'll be able to experience a lot of the slavery and debt. I don't think we'll have our kids will have to have that solely for themselves. You mentioned Larry Griswold. They did try to demonize him a bit, and we should point out that Larry is actually a veteran, if I'm not mistaken. And he did a YouTube video about safety checks at one point because the sheriff was using the excuse of safety checks for checkpoints in Kershaw County because it's not search without warrant. It's a safety checkpoint that's just keeping you safe. So Larry did this video where he goes around the car and he does an actual safety checkpoint because if you're worried about being safe, you might want to worry about your tires, your brakes, the lights, and that sort of thing. And then he demonstrated what the Kershaw County Sheriff's Office considers a safety check, which is license, registration, and proof of insurance, which has absolutely nothing to do with safety.
Yeah, ask Jeff about his little safety checkpoint stop one day when we were headed, I think over to his house. Where were we headed?
All right, well, we got about 6 minutes. Go ahead and tell us, Jeff.
Well, we were headed up to a friend's house and cut through a little side road, and all of a sudden, standing in front of me was a man with a gun. And he had his hand up, pulled up. He's got a badge, and he wants to see my papers, please. And, I asked him, well, what are we doing? What is the reason for the stop? Well, it's a safety checkpoint. I asked him if he was going to check my tires and all. Well, no, this is papers, please. License and registration, proof of insurance.
No, he got Jeff's driver's license, and it was kind of tattered.
Yeah, I had a tattered driver's license.
Yeah, so he gave him a warning for that, and where he put down a reason for contact was the driver's license being messed up. Now, no way he would have known that.
Yeah, the only reason I stopped was because a man was in the middle of a street with a gun. It wasn't
That's like being arrested for resisting arrest and having no other charge, which is more and more common. But I think you got it wrong, Jeff. I don't think that there was I think you misinterpreted what a safety checkpoint was. It had nothing to do with safety. It has to do with making sure that you're a slave and that you live in a police state. So the officer, I guess, was just making sure that we were safe from you because, you might have actually been some citizen who was going about his business and not bothering anybody, and that kind of worries me that you're out there.
You never know when you're going to see a terrorist running around with an AK-47. You never know. It's all for security.
According to the Border Patrol on the Canadian border, then they catch 3 or 4 a day. So I guess we should we should just get used to it and appreciate the people who grope our genitals at airports and harass us in daily travel.
Well, if they go ahead and give us the implant, maybe we could prevent that. What do you think?
That sounds like a great idea. Well, we've got about 3 minutes left, and that's it. Why don't you and Patty tell everybody how they can get in touch with you guys if they want to help you out and fighting some of this stuff in Kershaw County, or just keep up with your work or whatever else you got going on.
Well, you can always email me at jmpatriot, the number 7 at gmail.com. You can follow some of my work on brushfiresforliberty.com, also KershawCountyPatriots.com, and Kershaw County Patriots Facebook page. That's an open forum. No telling what kind of discussions you get into on there. Very libertarian-minded people. Also information about local events, Kershaw County events and surrounding counties, anything like that, anything having to do with politics. Sometimes I do a radio show on WAGL 1560 AM. It's called Patriots Talk, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Saturday. WAGL 1560 on the computer. You can pick it up in there and archive it. And Patty does a lot of writing for Kershaw County Patriots. Go ahead.
We have the YouTube page, and it comes up as Kershaw County Patriots, but my username is Ms. MS Redneck Rebellion.
Ms. Redneck Rebellion. That's YouTube. If you want to watch two crazy guys go after government anyway.
Yeah. I also have a blog, and that's where I put the story on there about finding out how the United Nations was behind the census count, door to door, marking the doors, GPS, and that's Marlene Motley on WordPress, at WordPress.
Yeah, marlenemotley.wordpress.com, right?
Yeah.
There's South Carolinians Against Agenda 21, right? There's a Facebook page for that people can go to.
Yeah, we're all over the place.
Yep, well, a lot of good places to catch you guys, and I'm sure you'll be in the papers or in the news soon enough. Every couple months you get up there, I believe. So
the faster we can get on the list, the faster and higher we fly.
Yeah, it's going to be on the list, be on the top.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on the show. We'll have to have you back up and talk about some more of this in the future. For the listeners out there, this has been Truth on the Tracks. I'm Brandon Turbeville. We'll see you next week.